Hey up everyone, what's going on and welcome back to Stirling Albion, where there's quite a lot to get through, so I will just essentially bullet point this intro. Firstly, the challenge portion of this is over. This is now entering new grounds. There's no restrictions or limitations based on the challenge anymore, nor do I have to play to the presumed final scoring ideas, of which I presumed transfer spending was part of that. So I figured the less you had to spend would impact me positively, so I have now free of that potential personal restriction. I have spent money. As you can see in the middle of the screen, 32 million. We're 5-1 for the Premiership. I have loaded the rest of the European nations, top divisions for the most part, and removed the lower divisions of the nations I had to include. I've just removed some of the nations we had to include as well. So that's the short of it. We're 5-1 now. We don't have anyone in the Media Dream 11. Don't know how that works, considering we had people there at the end of last year, and they're still here. And no, it's not because they've acquired players either. The players in that Media Dream 11, I'm pretty certain all of them were there last year as well. Particularly the striker position, which of course was Duda, but now Wind. Whatever. Anyway, Dundee United, lowest net transfer spend. You can tell possibly where one of our players has come from. And it won't be a surprise because I did say I was going to do it. And that's Chris MOCHRIE. Again, not a lot of transfer done. We have brought in 7 as it says there, so I will try and get through as quickly as possible. But Chris MOCHRIE is in. He's very good statistically, attribute-wise. Attribute-wise, he is quite good, although statistically he's quite good as well. We've played 2 already, and it's 7.55 in the Ladbrokes Premiership. A lot of 13s, 14s, a few 15s, and a technique of 16 there, so quite good altogether. 13 grand a week, it's on the higher end, but not drastically so. Of course, that wage budget has gone up this year. I think he's the third highest earner because of Josh Bowler's slight increase on last year. So I think he's technically the 3rd highest, but not by much. Basically, the reason for Chris MOCHRIE is A, is strengthens a position that we needed because we were losing 2 attacking midfielders. B, he's homegrown nation Scottish. And whilst he doesn't have a senior cap for Scotland yet, I suspect it won't be long before he does. He is 20 years old, has got a little bit more potential to grow into. So the idea here is he's going to be one of the key players of our squad. He's going to be the Scottish homegrown player that actually starts. Because so far, really, the Scottish players last year in particular, obviously as we were going through, foreign players were a little bit harder to come by. But last year in particular, we were pretty much exclusively homegrown Scottish players as backup. The only one that was homegrown and started pretty much last year was Ziggy Gordon, who was actually Polish despite his homegrown status. So it'd be nice to have an actual Scottish international potentially in the future to be a core part of our squad. Chris MOCHRIE, welcome. 7.25. They forced me into a release clause, which I didn't know existed. And I'm glad it did, kind of, because I'm not sure how high they would have gone without it. Valued at 4.3 right now, so technically overpaid a little bit, but for what he brings, I think he's worth the money. The only out of note is Harry Souttar, who ironically went to Dundee United. Yeah, he's gone. He's decent, but he was backup for us, and he was on a star contract player, or he was originally on a star contract, so he got a little bit upset when he wasn't playing last year. So, yeah, he's gone. Also, he was missing for quite a lot of last year because he counts as Australian, despite the fact his brother is in the Scottish squad. Aaron Lewis has gone out on loan as well, by the way. That's another one to mention, the liability at right back. He's gone out on loan. Greg Docherty's come in on a free, so very much worth the money. Just very solid in all areas, really, Greg Docherty. He's not sensational anywhere, except for teamwork, which is nice. But, yeah, just very good all round. Although, despite the fact he's just very good all round, was our best midfielder when I signed him. Bit awkward, that one. Yeah, so central midfield was the problem, because we had Rui Perez there last year on loan, who was technically the best player, even if he wasn't. He didn't endear himself to me the same way the other loanees did last year. So he was good without being fantastic, really. Obviously, despite his limited appearances and his star rating, Callum Lascelles still ridiculously good, performance-wise. Maintains his starting position at the beginning of the season, and we'll see if that will continue for the rest of the year. I hope it does, because I love Callum. We know this. Greg Docherty in, though. First choice backup. He's actually agreed to be a squad player, despite the fact he was technically the best one on paper. £6 a week. It's fine, really. Martin Kelly's a weird one. It says he's not played football for 4 years. Either he was released from a club that is now being loaded in or being loaded out. I'm not sure which way that's gone. I don't know where he went after 2019. I presume he's actually somewhere that isn't Crystal Palace now. I'm not certain. But apparently he's not played football for 4 years. That being said, £7.5 a week, important player, might start at right back over Ziggy Gordon. He is technically better, but That might change over the course of the year if he does physically decline. 10 natural fitness. But the rest of it's quite good. Mentally, very good. Will be a mentor for our younger defenders this year. We don't really have young defenders, like massively young defenders, only really Fabian Layers, but still, that's fine by my sort. Obviously not Scottish, but we had enough new homegrown Scottish players to allow that one. Obviously, Harry Souttar's gone, who is homegrown Scottish. Yeah, we had enough in other areas that it didn't matter getting him in. £7.5 a week is a nice wage to have him on. Worth a fair bit for a 33-year-old as well, and there's a bit of experience as we go into Europe as well. A singular English cap. You love to see it. Oh dear. Ramon Cesar comes in from Spain. Of course, Spain now loaded in, and with it, a whole bunch of young players with release clauses ready to trigger. Not even just young players, actually. A lot of players with release clauses. Argentina was a similar situation. There was an Argentinian who had a very triggerable release clause for our budget levels. It was absolutely ridiculous. Could have gone to a Premier League team, and, well, his response was essentially that. He was as good as Ivan Seri, put it in that respect. So, unsurprisingly, he didn't want to come to Stirling Albion. Just yet, anyway. 28-year-old, of course. But yeah, with those new leagues, a whole bunch of new gens are just being spawned straight into the game. Some of them release clauses. I triggered quite a few of them from the young Spaniards. 3 of them said, we'll talk about contracts. 1 of those then re-signed with the club they're already at. So 2 of them are coming. Ramon Cesar's already here. The other one next summer. So you will see them, but next summer. Ramon's here though because he is 2.5 star, as is Ted Smith. But importantly, Ramon has 4 stars, maybe 5. Ted caps out at 3. The reason for getting Ramon is you may think it's a bit weird considering we kind of probably want to get a homegrown goalkeeper in. Jack Ruddy isn't homegrown, I realised over the summer. He's been here 2 years on the presumption that he was a homegrown fodder for the quota. He's Scottish but trained in England. I haven't realised that until this summer just gone. So that's a bit awkward. Jack Ruddy probably on his way out as a result, maybe. If he's happy to be 3rd choice, that's fine. But whatever. Ramon will be used in Cups and Europe for the most part. He's on the same star rating, obviously he has potential. If he grows into that potential, 19 determination. If he does grow into potentially, he might end up being 1st choice goalkeeper. And Ted might eventually get replaced by an actual homegrown Scottish player. A goalkeeper maybe, but we'll see what happens on that front. And much as I don't want to replace Ted, again, bit of a theme in this year's game, as much as I don't want to do that, it might end up being the case. James Penrice is the backup left-back this year, 800k, picked him up from Hearts. He is a solid star behind Fabian Layers. He is it's similar story to actually kind of Greg Doherty in my opinion, just very good in pretty much every respect. He's very good going forward, 12 crossing, 11, 12 tackling, 30, 11 marking. He's sort of good on both ends. Mentals, quite good in general. Physicals, quite good in general as well. Just solid backup. Squad player, agreed to be a squad player, very much on squad wages. 3.7 grand is very low for our standards right now, actually. So, a very agreeable deal. He's homegrown Scottish, he fills the quota, he's a very good backup, not likely to ever become better than Fabian Layers either, and he's not going to get angry if he doesn't start either, as well. So, all the boxes ticked, good news. Similar story with Ross McCrory, except he is on quite a bit of wages. But he's been transfer listed from Rangers for about 2 years at this point, but we just haven't played the defensive midfielder for the last 2 years. Now we're going to be playing a lot of teams, well, more teams that are probably better than us, thanks to Europe being a thing. Now we're going to be playing more teams like that. The defensive formation might come out a little bit more, and I figured we better prepare for that. So Ross McCrory is in. He can play defensive midfield, central midfield, defender, right back. He's got a lot of utility, and he has agreed to be a squad player despite his wages. Can't work that one out. Physically, good. Mentally, great. Technically, for ball winning, great. Not necessarily great on the sort of passing, playmakery side of things for midfield purposes, but defensive midfielder-wise, very good indeed. And for less than $1 million, homegrown Scottish, absolutely take. Absolutely what we need. And the only other inbound to talk about is Joel Bile, which is an unfortunate name. And I presume it is pronounced that way because that's how you pronounce Van Dijk, isn't it? So Van Dijk, Bile. I'd argue he's technically probably the 2nd best player here, or 3rd actually, after Duda, of course. And probably actually the defenders now I think about it. Cardoso and Coenza might be better than him overall. But in terms of the players that are actually Stirling players, he's probably only 2nd behind Chris MOCHRIE now. Maybe Bowler. I'm not sure how Bowler's looking these days. But yeah, he's very good. We paid £8 million up front with a further 15 over time and then 5 in options. It might end up being a very costly deal. I don't know how long we're going to be playing it. We're going to be doing this for 2 more years in-game, bare minimum. Then we may take it onto Twitch when the beta arrives. But if he develops, he may be sensational. The fact they wanted a lot more than a 28 million to start off with does indicate he might be a future star. And he's a future star that agreed to come here, which is a key point. There's a few of them in the newly loaded Dutch and Belgian leagues and Argentina. Just none of them wanted to come here. January, Brazil gets added. So we'll see who gets Gent into Brazil when that comes around as well. Speaking of January, there is a international new gen I forgot to talk about. I acquired him the same time as I acquired Alstrom. He was just too young at the time. He might be interesting too. Young lad from Finland. He joins in January. And then the Spaniard who joins next year. I think there's another player who joins next year as well. So it should be all fun. Next summer, 2 deals already done, technically. But they don't matter now, where we have to play AA Gent in a Europa League playoff. There is still qualification rounds. I didn't realise this. Europa League, by the way, forgot to finish that off last year. I did say I'd look at the Championship playoff, because I mentioned it. Norwich did end up winning that, thank God. Celtic won the Europa League. They beat Manchester United in the final, which I'm sure pleases any Celtic fans immensely. This year's final will be held at Celtic Park. So, don't have to go far, really, then, if we do get to the Europa League final. But for now, we do have to go to Belgium, which is the first time we've ventured abroad. We are not favourites, which is why I'm playing the defensive formation, with Smith in goal, Leyes, Cuenca, Cardoso, Gordon at right back because Martin Kelly is injured. Jack Ruddy is unregistered because Cesar's here now. In fact, Cesar starts. MOCHRIE in goal, MOCHRIE, Bile, Fernandez and Bowler and Duda. MOCHRIE just playing in central midfield rather than the attacking midfield. Still advanced playmakering, but he's not a natural in central midfield. But I'm playing him there because, as an attacking playmaker, he's still the best other than Joel Bile. Might just slow the tempo down a bit as well. Also remove counter-press off if we're second best. Because this is now our we're second best formation, basically. And I don't have number 13 available, Ramon. I do apologise for that one. You can have 33 instead. His actually favoured number is 13. I've just realised that. That just sank in that 13 was his favoured, not number 1, as you'd expect a goalkeeper, but 13. I expect you to get a good result. That's, a good result doesn't really specify what the result is, though. How can you be confused by that? Right, lads. I want you to get a good result in this so that when we go to Stirling Albion and play them again, we can qualify. How is that confusing? And my highlights are on super fast. I do apologise. Just for the games I was playing in between to get through them as quickly as possible. Of course, no Betfred Cup to start off with. No group stages for that this year. So I didn't have to go through that faff. That has been punted back out again to Leyes. Bile will get the ball. Fernandez on the left. MOCHRIE's now available. There's no overlap for Fernandez if he wants it. He might be offside, Fabian Leyes here. It's not being flagged just yet. Bowler's at the back post, and it's a tried and tested routine almost. The left back to the right winger. Josh Bowler heads in on 3 minutes. What a start. But yeah, tried and tested in this year's game and this year's formations really. Both the defensive and the attacking formation version of these employs this kind of tactic where either it's the left back or the left winger to the right winger, or right back or right winger to the left winger, just to head in or tap in at the far post. We've seen it plenty of times over the course of the York save and this save now. But speaking of seeing things, we're not really seeing anything else, I speak, and there's a corner. Headed clear, MOCHRIE will get it, Bile, and Cardoso tips that one in, and it's 2-0 at whatever Gent Stadium is called. I didn't look at it, if I'm honest. There's a corner for Fernandez here, whips it in, it is headed clear by a, unpronounceable defender. Bile smashes it in, and it probably wasn't target, but Cardoso just does the trickery thing of diverting it to the other corner. A couple of the teams playing that you may recognise name-wise in these playoffs. I'm not sure if there's been any massive upsets just yet in terms of teams that didn't even make it through. I think there was one moderately well-known name that fell admittedly to another moderately well-known name. So, whilst the result wasn't surprising, it was just a bit of a shame they popped out when they did. Duda makes it 3. Good God. It's not even half time. By the way, if anyone knows why Gent's logo is a Native American, please explain that one. I know I can just Google it, but what? It's been bugging me ever since I got their logo on Ultimate Team this year. I think I have their tifo as well. Right, halftime team talk. I wish I could just say, this is what I mean by a good result. I mean, in fact, this is a sensational result. I'd taken a draw. I'd have taken a 1-0. I would have taken a loss if we scored an away goal. 2-1. 2-1 is a good result for the away leg against a team that is technically better than us, apparently. There's a chance for a fourth, and it is a fourth. Josh Bowler getting the goal. I did wonder if it was about to be flagged for offside because that happens far too often from free kicks. But I think the player that it was initially targeting, who may have just strayed offside when it got played there, Coenza, doesn't actually get to it, and Bowler is the one who runs onto it. I don't know what would happen if Coenza had got the final touch, but doesn't matter. Bowler gets 2 for the game, and it's 4-0 away from home. The plan was to do both the Gent away and home legs. There's a Rangers game in between, which I was just going to sort of gloss over, weirdly. 4-0 away, still playing, 82 minutes, I made no changes. We've done a long throw there, and those tend to end up normally quite well. So MOCHRIE brings it off to defender. MOCHRIE can get there first, sort of. Naranjo will get the ball, though. Berids. I was about to say being pushed wide, but he somehow got past the defender, but then just smacks it nowhere near the goal anyway. Gordon looking tired, Layers looking tired. Bowler's taking a knock, he's on 2 goals. I'll see what happens. I'll see if Bowler recovers before I take him off. But Penrice straight on for Layers. McCrory on there. I think Doherty's just going to have to come in, maybe not play ball winner, play a little bit more halfback. I mean, Dominguez could just come in right back. It's his 4-0. Yeah, I think Dominguez just makes more sense, actually. Just a straight swap for both fullbacks. Bowler is improving a little bit, but it doesn't really matter now because it's got to 93 minutes. They had 2 shots on target the entire game. Nobody gave us a chance, and it's 4-0. I think we will play the Rangers game now. Well, speaking of Europa League winners Celtic, we have played 2 games and we have won 2 games. Haven't really shown you what we've done so far. Played 2, won 2. We beat Dundee United in the first game, which was obviously a grudge match thanks to Chris MOCHRIE and Harry Souttar being on the opposite sides they were last year. We beat Celtic. They did have a sending off, admittedly. They had a sending off and a missed penalty. But really, if they got that penalty, would have been massively undeserved. And we also beat Kilmarnock, who are second tier now anyway, in the Betfred Cup first round. So we do have Hearts twice in a row actually coming up. But I'm going to bring you the Rangers game instead of the Gent second leg. I'll let you know what happens in the Gent second leg, of course, and maybe the draw for the next round. But I feel like it's more important to show you more of the Rangers game. May not go super detailed with either of them, but yeah, the group stage draw is directly afterwards. Still got transfer window to deal with, of course. Celtic have smashed Hibernian though, so back to normal for Celtic. Worth noting going into this as well, Rangers have won 1, lost 1. Lost to Motherwell, who were recently promoted. Currently sat with 2 wins and 1 loss themselves. Of course, Juanito Lopez is Motherwell if he's still there. So we've only beaten Rangers the once, of course, and that was in last year's Cup, realistically, when it mattered most, as we then ended up winning it. Sizars are registered for the league. That's not a problem right now, of course, but we don't play with the goalkeeper in the league on the bench. But we are away from home, of course, so I may actually employ this formation once again. If Martin Kelly is back, which he isn't, that would be slightly more helpful. But everyone's sort of fit enough just to go same 11, except for Smith in goal. I mean, if they can do what they did against Gent against Rangers, same club colours, just imagine they're the same team and the stadium looks identical colour-wise. Well, the lunchtime kickoff, no one else is playing the same time. Hearts the only other team to win 2 from 2 and have yet to play. As Bowler sort of gets intercepted there, but we've maintained possession for the time being. It's gone back to the goalie. Punted out to Ziggy Gordon once again. You can find Bowler, maybe? No. Mings, who is nowhere near as good on the game, as he probably should be. Galton, this weekend's hero. For Rangers, of course. Connor Galton, still in the Rangers side. I'm sure they'll be pleased to know that. Sorry, that's Stefan Savage. I mean, I suppose he's getting on a bit now, but blimey. Traded Atletico Madrid for Rangers. How old is Stefan Savage? He's only 32. I mean, not super quick. Not even a free agent. Straight up sold him. That's my favourite transfer so far. I mean, we've got a Barcelona player in our squad, so, you know, welcome to our level, Rangers, I guess. So I've just realised Stefan Savage is lined up next to Steve Cook. That's a pairing I was not expecting. Former Bournemouth player Steve Cook alongside now former Bournemouth player Stefan Savage. It's now at half time, and I've literally seen one highlight. Joel Bile putting in a 100% pass completion rate, though, in the first half. My right back has been booked, because of course. I'm paying attention specifically to right back, because it was a problem with Xiaonan. I seem to remember as well. He got the most yellow cards of anyone in our squad, year in, year out. Obviously, Aaron Lewis got sent off twice towards the end, and got yellow cards pretty much every single game he played. So I'm paying attention to Ziggy Gordon and how many yellow cards he books, and Martin Kelly if he plays there. I think I said Aaron Lewis is out on loan. I haven't sold him, but he's not here this year. 70 minutes gone, and I mean, we've really not seen much from this game. Bile's going to have a crack from distance. Oh my lord, Joel Bile. Here's his 3rd goal already, and already showing his class. So the idea if this was a much longer save would be, obviously we build the team around a player like Joel Bile. and Chris MOCHRIE. They're sort of the two, sort of the out-and-out probably best player we're going to have, Joel Bile, then the out-and-out probably best Scottish player we're going to have, Chris MOCHRIE. I mean, 5 minutes to go, it's 1-0 us, and I really don't feel like doing too much, but I did put Armstrong on the bench, so Fernandez can have a bit of a breather. And Fabian Laers is so tired. I might not bother, I see all in his book, but I may not bother changing that, and probably immediately about to regret that as a highlight, which has been actually punted over to the left-hand side now. Wait, what? Sorry. Did they just play back from an advanced left-wing position to their own defenders? I presume they were kicking left from right there. I swear to God, they just had some kind of set piece on the left-hand side of our box and punted it back directly to their defensive line. Moz is still playing there. Kent smashes over, thank God, for us. And we're about to do, I mean, there's a following corner. We won't talk until that's gone in or off. Goal kick to us, wasn't a save. We're about to go 3 from 3, but most importantly, as there's 1 minute on the clock and there is a highlight, it is Arsenal possession for now. Maboud, Rahman is still sort of through as it cannons off our defender twice in a row. Free kick to Rangers, MOCHRIE is being summoned over. I'm just wondering if this is 92 minutes, straight red, righto. Not the player I was worried about. With 30 seconds, I do have a third change to make, so sod it. Sorry, Duda. I'm just gonna bring a man on. Didn't matter, and he's probably not playing the next match anyway. Well done, lads. That's a good win. How could I not say anything more than that's a good win? It's a sensational win. We've just beaten Celtic and Rangers back to back. It's only 1 match ban. Probably justified. Confirm and don't appeal. No, don't view the incident. I forget that does that. Right, so I'll quickly zoom on to the Gent. There's not much transfer business I'm doing right now, but Aralis just got injured on loan, weirdly. Still trying to make a name for himself and get in my notice box, even though he's not here. Hearts lose, so we are the only ones to go 3 from 3. Aberdeen unbeaten. Sorry, did Aberdeen have Ryan Cassidy? A player that we tried to sign in the past before he ended up going to Norwich. He's still at Norwich. No, Aberdeen have actually signed him. How bizarre. I like that Aberdeen have Ivan Toney and Ryan Cassidy. Now, technically, two of the Championship strikers. So, quite frankly, a somewhat simple, boring, own goal decided 1-0 in the second leg. Not a lot to speak of happening there. So 5-0 aggregate, doing the job. 241k for the Europa playoff. 2.5 million for getting to the group stages. We'll take that, absolutely. Draws tomorrow. I want to show you the draw. The next episode probably will feature the end of the group stage or the crucial part of the group stage. It's in deadline day, which doesn't help. I thought deadline day was the second, but so I finally reached the draw stage after a little bit of transfer business. I'll get you caught up in a moment, but we are, oh God, Atletico Madrid are in the Europa League. Just Tottenham, though, seemingly from Britain. England, I should say. Oh, Everton are there as well. Rangers in pot 3. Naturally, we are the lowest. Of course, we have no history. Southampton actually as well. What did Southampton win? With Marcelo Bielsa. Southampton won the FA Cup, because of course they did. So first round irrelevant to anyone other than Tottenham fans, I suppose. But for Scottish interests, pot 2, still nothing better. Group A wanting to avoid. Group F, the one we're wanting. I'd accept Group H because we've had good fun with Besiktas in the past. Group C, Copenhagen. Leipzig, obviously the problem there, but Copenhagen, only need to be second, of course. Group D, avoid. Group A, avoid at this point as well, I would argue. Definitely avoid now. Everton get Group C. Rangers get Group A, which, not awful. PSV slot into Group F. Southampton join Group G. Group H, okay, now. Group H looking like the attractive prospect. Obviously, we can't get Group E now. Oof, tough one for Sion. Tottenham, Basel, Karabakh. For getting second, like Tottenham, obviously, we'll put them to one side. Getting second, I'm not mad at that. Maribor get Group F. That's a, Who got Group H? Mould. For getting second, Karabakh and Basel, I reckon we can take them. Spurs, obviously not. So just to get you caught up on transfer stuff, as I just mentioned, we've loaned Harvey Elliott because why the heck not? I figured we could do with a better backup inverted winger on that side than Ali Mali, who is now 2 stars. And I realised Joel Bile is functional over there. Whatever. I went for the right-hand side because I realised that Josh Bowler was fine on the left as well. Just to play over there. He can play both sides, not as inverted. But I figured the right-hand side was more important than the left because Bowler is better than Fernandes, basically. So if we need Bowler to cover the left, we can. Alston plays over there from time to time. I just felt it was better to get someone in the right rather than the left. And we sold Ross Graham at the beginning of the transfer deadline day. So Owen Miller has come in from Celtic, a young player with potential. Was at Celtic. We've paid about 4 million all told. Breakthrough prospect. Fourth best centre-back as things stand. Homegrown Scottish, is 18, can become club, of course, if he stays with us for 3 years. I felt it was a reasonably decent investment. Still some time, but I'm not expecting anything else. The good news is Fabian Layers and Keenan Jones now count as under 21 because I think the 2-year mark has just passed for the pair of them. It wasn't originally for the playoffs, so it gives me a little bit more space for new players to come in. So Gates back in. Owen Miller I have to register because he's not been here, and Harvey Elliott's now in as well. Ali Mali still misses out. A bit awkward. So the final match of that group is against Tottenham. We do follow that with a Celtic game, but I may bring you back a little bit earlier if the group can be decided a little bit earlier for the promotion spot or the advancement spots are settled probably here. Probably the Basel or Karabag will settle our fate here. We do open with Karabag quite soon, but around here is where I'm expecting the main business to be dealt with. I might end up just doing both of those, Basel and Karabag. Dunfermline maybe features a little bit as well. Depends what happens with the Betfred Cup, of course. Don't know where the Scottish Cup starts. No, that's a little bit later on. Depending on how the Betfred Cup goes as well, there may be further rounds of that around the same time. So I'm expecting to come back around here. I expect this to decide the group because anything happens with Tottenham is probably largely irrelevant for all three sides. It's essentially going to be a three-way fight between us three for that second spot. So I'll bring you back around then, I suspect. Until then, thank you for watching. Ta-ra!